start again. What I'm going to do is talk to you about using tissue paper with glue. Now, you might have used it before. Have you done this sort of thing before? Tissue and glue? Because it's difficult for us to know, because you come through different second and third year groups, and some do it in second, third year, others do different projects, and so we're not always sure. However, I'm going to show you how you make this material. Now, this is really useful for all kinds of things to do with hats. If you look at this hat here, oops, this hat here, it's got all these pieces here have been made using this technique. These are felt at the back. We'll do felt some other time, but today it's tissue and glue. So those pieces have been made. This one as well. These pieces here, the blue and then the red on from behind. This is the tissue and glue material as well. You can see it being used in this mask for all these big pieces here that have then been decorated. And this piece here, which actually is a mask, it wraps around the head, but I'll not put it on. The green bit inside, this green bit was a big sheet of tissue and glue that then the girl drew a pattern on and very carefully cut out into a kind of network. And then that went underneath and the orange bits went on the top, the felt pieces. So it's a really good little material to learn how to use. So I'm going to show you how you do it. What you need first of all is a piece of plastic. So this green box over here is where you'll get the plastic from. And inside there's all different sizes and shapes of it. If you pick one up and it's a bit messy, you might want to wash it with a bit of hot water and soap first, because sometimes they, you know, they get a bit dirty. So then what you would do is you'd look at your colours. So for example, this thing that I was making with my second years, this is a piece that I've made that would have been this top bit here. Okay, so you can see it's got the same shape and pattern on it. It's not exactly the same shape, but it's similar, but I was just sort of giving this as an example. This is a card piece I made, which was going to be this bit, okay? But if I take this as an example, so the colour schemes, greens and blues, what you would do is you would just take your tissue that you want and you tear it into pieces. Okay, tear it. Probably the best idea is to have quite a lot torn first, so you've got a little pile of it ready. And then you just make yourself a surface. So your surface can be flat colour if you want it to be. For example, that was just flat green. And then these pieces I cut carefully and I sat them in afterwards. If you want to, you could sort of mottle the colour. If you look at this one, I'm actually going to pull this off so you can see it. I'll stick it back on another time. If you look at this one, it's got blue turning into purple, turning into dark pink, light pink and white. So it's kind of got a shaded effect. And she did that actually on a piece of wire. I could show you that another time, but it's the same idea. It's just the tissue she's sitting down. And what you do is you just get watered down PVA, which is in that bottle over there. Brushes are in the plastic tub and there's plastic bowls there. Put some PVA in here and you're just going to paint down like that and then sit your tissue in it. It's that easy. And then you paste over the top again. Now, when you paste over the top, you want to make sure it's nice and flat down to the surface of the plastic. And then you just keep going. So if all you wanted was plain green, then that's so easy. You just keep going. And you can say to yourself probably 3 or 4 layers, and it's going to be strong enough. When it's dry, you can peel it off the plastic and cut a shape out. Okay? You definitely need 3 or 4 layers though. Any less than that, and it'll probably be far too flimsy. If you want it particularly thicker, because what you're making requires it to be thicker, you know, then you go for it. You can always layer up more. I think it works best with paler and more brighter tones, if you know what I mean, rather than deep dark, like dark browns and blues and things like that. Kind of works nicer with the more florally type colours. So you can see what I'm doing, just layering it up and flattening it down. Okay, so you would then be in a position, if you wanted to get, for example, you know, yellow and sort of ombre it a little bit into yellow, or the other way you could go into like a pale blue. So you could change the colour if you want to, how you want it to be. I'll just do a little bit of that to show you what I mean. So, you know, if I do that, don't worry about the edges because the whole thing would be trimmed eventually anyway. So I could go from green through into the yellow. And obviously you've got to make sure it all knits together, don't have any gaps or it'll fall apart a bit. So you can see that's quite a nice little bit going from green through to yellow. So you'd be at the position where you could do that, change it through from one colour to the other. Or if you wanted to, you could cut careful shapes and put shapes in, because what you're doing requires you or suggests that you might do that. It all depends on what your theme is like. If your theme is mechanical things, you might be thinking, how would I do this? But then you could use, for example, black tissue and put little bits of maybe like silver foil in it or something. You can sit other things inside this. So you could, like as I said, you could put like cut careful silver foil squares because you want it to look a little bit like mechanical or shiny. You could put even string. I've got a nice thing here. I'm sure, please let it be close by. I'm not going to be able to find it, am I? Just going to want it. I've got a really nice little, right, just give me 1 second, I think it's in this box here. So much stuff, by the way, there's just so much that you can do with this. That's some that's had paint put on top. So that's, you can see red and orange and yellow, and then on the top it's had the yellow and then some paint straight through. The actual thing, that's just a big piece of it that someone's made. The actual thing I'm looking for has got string in it, and it's just really, really pretty, and I'm not going to be able to find it because it's what I want to find. That's Angelina fibres. I'll show you that some other time. We can make Angelina fibres into pieces as well. You can put things like pasta. I know that sounds a bit mad, but see this piece here? It's got tiny bits of spaghetti in it and little lentils. So this person sat for ages and broke up little bits of spaghetti and then sat them in, and then they painted over the top. So it has a really lovely, delicate flower petal texture to it. It's got a florally kind of look. And then down here would be like little, they put little seeds. I've got loads of seeds, pulses, things like lentils and beans, and you can pop them in, and then that gives that flowery texture as well. And then she's done spaghetti around the edges of those. Oh no, that's bits of rice actually, grains of rice. You can do a lot with rice and lentils and so on. All over there, if you look over there, you'll find all that kind of thing. The thing that I'm trying to find, it had a piece of lovely string in it, and then the string, you know, if you have a lovely piece of coloured string, you can pull it apart into different threads. So it might be 6 threads altogether, but you can pull it apart. And it had this lovely texture going all the way through it with the threads all kind of spilling out everywhere, but I can't seem to find it. So I'll find it for you during the lesson. I'm sure it'll be here somewhere, and you can see what I mean. In terms of cutting, very carefully, because like I said, you could cut things. If you look at that, perfectly symmetrical, how are you going to get it like that? See that blue bit? How did I get that beautifully symmetrical, do you think?
Fold it in half.
Pardon?
Fold it in half.
Fold it in half, exactly. So I want to just show everybody this, just so you totally get. Okay, if you want something, a pattern on top, and you want it symmetrical, fold your page in half, or your piece of tissue in half, and then whatever you cut, obviously, when you peel the 2 pieces apart, you're going to have 2 identical ones. So just for easiness, I'm going to do a kind of little leafy shape. Oh my goodness, it's not particularly easy, but it means that when I pull them apart, I'm going to have 2 the same, and I could perhaps sit these in somehow. Okay. It's very, very quick and not particularly great, but you get the idea. That's how I got the pale blue and the green. So it might be relevant to you. So what your job now is to do is to think to yourself, right, she's shown me the basics. How can I interpret that? Can I use this in my piece? Okay. I'm not telling you all that you have to use it in your piece. I'm telling you that flowery people and bird-like people, it's going to work well. Mechanical people, it's a bit trickier but doable. It's an option for you. Okay, that's it.